Okay, now I have sewn up to where I have 8 to 10 inches left on each end of my binding on the quilt. So now we're going to finish this off, and I'm going to show you how to join these two ends together to make a continuous binding, and then we will sew it down to the quilt. So I have this wonderful tool here that I use, and it has markings on it, 1 3/4 to 2 1/2. I have cut my binding at 2 1/2 inches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold my binding down even with my quilt and lay this like this, because I want to make sure that I have enough binding on the other side to fold over. So this has a arrow pointing up, so you want this pointing towards the right side of your binding, and you lay it right on this edge right here of the fold, and then I bring this over up to my 2 1/2 inch line, because that's the width of my binding. So I know that I have enough and everything. So I take this off, and what I will do is I'm going to cut this. And a pair of scissors is all you need. And then you discard this because you do not need it. So I lay my binding back down, I lay my binding tool right on the edge of that, and then I bring this up, and I'm going to fold it on that 2 1/2 inch line, and then I'm going to cut it. And I do not need this. So the next step will be joining these two pieces together. So I take my binding on the left-hand side, and I'm going to lay it out just like that. And the binding on the right-hand side, I'm going to twist it to me, just one time. And sometimes you have to fold your quilt over to get it to meet up here. And I'm going to line these up at the top and the bottom. And just lay this down. And then I take my ruler, and I'm going to draw a diagonal line from corner to corner, just like this. And I'm using a pencil. There are marking tools if you prefer to use a marking tool. I'm going to put a pin in here, and this is just to hold this together while I take it to the sewing machine. So here it is, it's lined up. And it's lined up here. So now my next step is to take and join these two pieces together. So once you have done that, you want to open it up to make sure that yes, you have sewed your seam in the right direction. So once I have done that, then I just take, and you can take a pair of scissors. You don't really have to use your rotary cutter to cut this off. You may want to use maybe a little bit bigger pair of scissors than I'm using here. It would, but this works fine. So I have cut this off. So then I take this and I finger press this where I have joined the seam. I just take and finger press this open. And here again, that eliminates some of the bulk in your binding when you fold it over. And then I fold this over, and I just kind of finger press this. And then I lay this down on here, and I am ready to finish sewing this on the machine. There you have a finished, complete binding. The next step you would do is, once you do that, is you want to fold over your binding so that you are now ready to either machine stitch or hand stitch. And this is where I really like using these wonderful binding clips because they help hold the binding down in place. And I take these and I fold them, and I'll put them on the other side. And this way, I don't have to try to hold the binding down as I'm stitching. At my corner, I take and, excuse me, to get my mitered edge, I take and fold this up. Bring this back up. And this gives me my mitered edge. And I'm going to put a pin here because that way I can hold this in place until I am ready to get to this point to stitch. So therefore I have my mitered corner, and then these clips are holding the rest of my binding in place as I go along. And like I say, you can choose to hand stitch this down, or you can choose to machine stitch. And if you machine stitch, normally you're going to probably do it in the ditch from the front of your quilt. And the only thing you need to remember is to make sure that this is over past the seam on the back. And that will finish off your quilt. Thank you and have a wonderful day.